Okay, what are you saying, people, and welcome back to your favorite YouTube channel. So today, guys, like always, another weekly analysis for you. On the screen of the pairs we'll be analyzing this week, but try to make sure you do stay to the end of the video. So we'll be breaking down each pair, analyzing what happened this week, and obviously forecasting the next. But for that said, guys, enjoy the video. Let's get into it. Okay, so up first, Euro USD. So for this pair, some nice downside early on this week. Majority of the week was consolidation. We did see a bit of a push to the upside off the back of some news. But overall for me, Euro USD is still bullish. I know we're bouncing off this support a little bit with that daily candle closure, but momentum, structure, multi-time frame analysis, monthly, daily, weekly, all still pointing to the downside, and we still do have reasons to head lower as well to take out these lows. We've come so close this week to take out those lows at 1.03496. That was a target for the week, which we pretty much came into but failed to take out, and we still got that monthly wick as well, which I'm expecting price to take out, which we still haven't done that yet. So we still do have reasons to head lower. There will be a build up of liquidity underneath these lows here. And since the market is still bearish, I would expect us to go and take those lows out and probably head even lower. So Euro USD still bearish coming into the week. We were looking for sales, hoping for another break and retest of this level here. We had a slight one at the end of last week. Was looking for us to come and retest this week, which we almost ended up doing off the back of the news. But again, still bearish, still expecting price to come back down to these lows. So I'm mainly looking at two setups here for Euro USD. A pullback into this resistance here that the price has just formed off that news, because we had a big bullish candle there. Price is still at that level, so as long as we can remain below that, looking for sales. To be honest, as long as we remain below 1.06352, because this is the range here that the market is broken out. If we climb back inside that range and certainly break above that range, I'll probably look at recalculating my bias. So sales from this resistance here at 1.05600, or even better, if we push a little bit higher, test that support again, term resistance at 1.06500, and again looking for the exact same setup. Sales to the downside, and targets will be the lows. You can aim for the support if you don't want to specifically aim for the wick, because there's general areas where price is collecting, so you can look for moving to that support. I'll be aiming for the wicks now because we do have a really good reason why we can go and take them out. And same from up here at 1.065, that level as well, same targets down at 1.03500. So that is what I'll be looking for next week for Euro USD. Okay, so now on to USD JPY. So for this pair, some nice downside this week, however quickly erased with that Friday bullish candle there. But we were expecting to see some downside. Main reason being the market's still very overextended on the higher time frames. As you can see, this is the monthly, and price is very extended here. And we've come into our key monthly area here at 135, 134,800 to be a bit more exact, but we'll call it 135. And price hasn't been trading at these areas for over 20 years. So the last time we were here was January 2002, and now it's forgot what month it is for a second, June 2002. So over 20 years just about we haven't been trading at these prices. So I'm expecting to see some profit taking, some sellers to step in the market here, and to at least see some type of correction. Obviously we could break through these areas and head to the next level, which will be up there. But as long as we can hold this level, expect to see some nice sales come back into the market. And I'm looking for a retest of 131, which was this resistance here, the price swing high. Here at 131, which we came so close to test this week before pulling back up. So I'm looking at price rolling back over, as long as we can hold this resistance to roll back over and come and have that retest of that support, where maybe some buyers could develop. We'll have to find out when we get there. So yeah, that's what I'll be looking at for USD JPY. Hold this 135 level. Again, we'll have to judge the price action Monday, Tuesday, see how we're developing in there, because obviously we could rally straight through, which will invalidate the whole setup. But if we can hold this, we'll be looking for sales and targets back down at 131 for next week for USD JPY. Okay, now on to USD CAD. So USD CAD very bullish over the past few days for this one. Was looking for push into 1.29, but as you can see, prices smashed through that, came back to retest it. 1.29, which was this resistance which I've been talking about, and used that as support to continue and actually just about see some new highs, I believe, past that point there, which would have been the overall target. And as you can see, we actually just smashed it this week, which was not expected, but hey, expect the unexpected in the FX markets. But yeah, as of now, price is still heading higher, and I still do have these upside targets back here. Here at 1.33, that's what I'm still looking for USD CAD to come into. You'll be making consistent higher lows here. You can see with this bullish trend line, higher low there, 2, 3, 4. Price is still respecting that, and I believe this resistance, which has been holding for quite some time, is broken with that candle there, but I do expect us to continue. Obviously, if you don't see next week's candle close straight back below, that will obviously invalidate the breakout. But as long as we don't do that, I'm still expecting price to slowly creep up to 1.33 up there, get a bit more of a long-term target. I do have a target here just at that resistance before we dropped, which is at 1.31370, which will be the target for next week. First, I do want to see some retracement though, because we are trading at those price swing highs, key resistance, which obviously sent us to the downside, not too long ago. So I do want to see some retracement, but as long as we can stay above this higher low here, just around 1.29, looking for buys. So hopefully we can see some downside, some correction, bounce off this back to highs, and then hit our higher time frame target at 1.31370. There's a chance that we could just break straight through if that momentum sustains. Break through this barrier here of resistance, the price swing high on the left, and just head up to those highs, which you can look for the break and retest. Not sure about the risk reward. You probably want to drop to lower time frames to make that worthwhile. But I'm looking for hopefully some correction, because again, we are quite overextended. We had a slight correction with that bearish candle. Again, we do have a lot of momentum there. I do expect to see some correction and come back into anyway. So that's what I'll be looking at for USD CAD. Hopefully pull back into 1.28932, so roughly around the 1.29 area. And then looking at longs back to highs at 1.3500, then to new highs 1.31355. And just in case we start flying, that is my higher time frame target there, 1.33 for USD CAD.
Sorry to interrupt the video guys, but if you are enjoying the content and you find it useful, make sure you go hit the subscribe button down below, and also make sure you drop a like as well. It really does help the channel out. But anyway, back to the video.
Okay, so now on to Euro Pound. So Euro Pound, interesting this week, very, very interesting indeed. Big push to the upside, which we were looking for if we could get the breakout to the upside. I was talking last week on my weekly analysis about this area consolidation. I said to you guys, if we can break to the upside, we're looking for 0.87. He spiked twice into that area and then dropped back really, really aggressively there. I said we're looking to trade within that range unless we can get the break to the upside or the break to the downside. We broke to the upside, didn't quite get the retest, but price just flew, hit 0.87, and came straight back down. And as you can see on the weekly time frame, that's the daily. In the weekly time frame, big wick to the upside. So for the week ahead, I'm looking at either one or two things happening. Either we go and fill this wick and we just continue this kind of momentum that looks to be picking up pace to the upside and back into 0.87, or this is a sign of rejection and we could be looking to roll back over. This could be a bit of a fake out, liquidity grab above all these highs here, and then we could actually tumble back down to the lows. Either which way, I do expect to see momentum come back into the markets again like it did last week. So the plan to trade that, so we can be in the right direction, take advantage of the move that actually does happen, is to monitor this level of resistance. Reason being, price has rejected this level multiple times, and when we got the breakout, we flew to the upside and came straight back in underneath this level. So if we are going to fill that wick on the weekly time frame, we would expect us to get above this level and go and fill the wick. If we don't get above this level, then the chance of us going to fill the wick are very, very slim. So if we hold this level next week, early on Monday, Tuesday, is a sign that we probably won't fill that wick, and we're probably expected to roll over. And because we're back inside the range, targets obviously will be of the low of the range, which is 0.84800. So back down to this support will be the targets if we don't break back to the upside of the range, which is expect price to go complete another swing, another bearish swing of that range. So we'll be looking for sales if we don't break above this 0.85800 area. If we do, however, then we're just going to look for momentum, come back into the markets, go fill the wick, and targets again will be 0.87, back at those highs up there. So pretty simple for euro pound. We'll see what price does at this level. That will make up our minds as for bias and everything. Two clear targets either which way, so we can capitalize on both opportunities. But yeah, we'll have to see what happens next week for euro pound. And up next we've got Aodu USD. So for this pair, more downside this week. Again, targets were at the lows here at 0.68300. So the wick here didn't quite get to that this week. Again, similar to Euro USD, came so close to the area before pulling back up. But again, price action, structure, everything's still to the downside from the higher time frames down to the 4H. So again, not really buying into this push to the upside, treating that as a pullback. And still expecting the market to move lower. Had a really nice level of support here, which gave us a last pullback not too long ago. The market's dumped through that, and now looks like it's respecting it as resistance with that bearish engulfing candle. So now next week I'm expecting these lows to be taken out, maybe price trading at 0.68, 675, potentially even further. So more downside for AUSD, and all I'm looking for is us to hold this level of 0.70400 as resistance, and then I'm expecting those lows to be taken out. If we get above that, that's when I'll probably analyze this one. Probably will go fill the gap into the lows of this range here, because we were consolidating there, broke out, didn't quite get the retest. So if that is the case, you know, you can look for that break and retest, take advantage of not the biggest trade in the world, but if you drop to the lower time frames, probably get a meaningful move on that. But the main move I'm looking for is hopefully a pullback to start the week off, and then more downside back down to the wick at 0.68295. So for me, AUSD taking out the lows next week, as long as we hold that as resistance. If not, we can still take advantage of the buys and a push into the lows of the range at 0.71600. Okay, now on to NZD CAD. So for NZD CAD this week, more downside for this one. Didn't quite hit my target, did see some new lows for this one past this point, but we didn't take out that monthly wick I was looking for. So we went, did not mean to do that. We went and took out this daily low there, that weekly low, but on the monthly time frame we still didn't quite take out that wick there, which was the main target for the past couple of months now actually. This wick here at 0.080159. So that's the area expecting price to go and take out for NZD CAD, but we still haven't done that yet. So similar to Euro USD, AUSD, we've come so close to those lows, haven't taken them out, and I do expect all of them to be taken out soon come, really, as long as the structure can hold. So this was the level that we had a break and retest a couple of weeks ago, or last week, a couple of weeks ago. Really key level support resistance, and theoretically, as long as we stay below that, I'm still expecting us to roll over. The market's kind of moving in waves now, essentially. You can see the market came retested, fell over, retested, fell over. So I'm looking at a third lower high in reference to these highs here. 1, 2, I'm looking at a third one for the next kind of roll over to the downside for NZD CAD, and maybe then we can take out the lows, but most likely we'll at least come back into the support area at least. So again, depends how you want to target your trades, either at the wicks or just generally to the support area. Obviously the support area most likely will happen, but the wicks can give you a little bit more risk to reward. But yeah, this is the range I'm looking at price coming back into. So this is where we were fluctuating. Let me just change that to area consolidation to make it a little bit more easier to read. So this is where we were consolidating not too long ago. Market broke over that, didn't quite get the retest, and then fell over. So looking to see if we can come back into this area, retest that with the confluence of the trend line that I drew on the daily, and from there we will look for our next lower high. So 1, 2, and then look for the third one somewhere, and shorts from that area there is what we're looking for NZD CAD. Stop loss obviously above structure, above price action, depending what you want to do. You can put it above there or above the candlestick you enter from. I'll be looking at the candlesticks personally to see what type of price action you can get, but from this area here we'll be looking at some sales for NZD CAD back down to the lows of support, and potentially some new lows, maybe at 0.8, big psychological level we have there for that pair. So yeah, NZD CAD more downside for this one, looking for a lower high at around the 0.8 to 600 mark, and then targets down at 0.8 for next week. Okay, so next up, pound NZD. So for this pair, not too much, mainly consolidation this week, but again, my bias still stands for this one, still to the downside, still looking for a push back down into this support. Let me change that back. So back into that support, just make it a bit darker. So yeah. Back into that support, 1.91500 is where I'm looking for price to come into now. Do have some more targets further to the downside at these areas here, back of the lows here at 1.88, but for next week we'll just be talking about 1.915, which is this level here. So I'm treating this move here, this big bullish move here with those candles, as a bit of a fake move. You know, we've been correctively moving sideways, but slightly to the upside. As you can see, we've come back down, and then we tried to go bullish again here, but failed. Momentum died, and now you can see we're throwing some wicks to the upside. We're trying to go bullish again, but momentum is failing. So most likely we will roll over back into the support again. Whether we break that support or not, that's completely up to price, but if we do, that's where it's better price to go. But for the next week, this is where I'm expecting price to head into. So this was the resistance I was looking at coming into the week, 1.945. This is the resistance I told you guys to look at. Still respecting that, so as long as we can maintain that level, really looking for the next lower high, and then shorts back down to the downside. As long as we hold 1.945 and not break above it, and targets for this one back at those lows, 915. And then if you want to push the trade, 1.88 down there if you want to turn it to a real swing trade. But yeah, pound NZD for me, looking at some more sells, having a tough time breaking through that resistance. If you do break through that, that will invalidate the setup. I'll probably reanalyze the chart if that happens. But yeah, targets 1.915 for next week, and shorts from 1.945 for next week. And now onto CAD Yen. So CAD Yen this week, we did see some nice downside. Again, we were looking at price having a bit of a breather this week. I said our targets were this resistance here, turn support. And as you can see, we just smashed into that. Slight reaction pull up to the upside. But for me, I'm still bearish on CAD JPY. I can still see price rolling over a little bit further, and I'm looking at a push into this high here at 101. So I'm still looking at more downside for CAD JPY as long as we don't break past this level here. As long as we can hold 104,500, I'm looking at us coming right back down into this level here at 101. So we are technically holding that prior high as support, as you can see with that bullish candle. Which was expected, but as long as we don't push away from that level and break above 104,500, I'm still expecting us to see some new lows past this wick here and a push into 101. So looking at shorts mainly for 105 for this one, probably have to wait for price to develop first and not just smack some shorts in straight away. Main reason because we are still respecting that daily prior resistance and support, which could obviously take us further. But if we fail to break through these highs up here, maybe place a lower high in or something, then I will look to short the market back into the level of daily resistance and now support as the first target. But I really will be trying to push the trade into 101, because if a lower high does form here, we most likely will take out these lows, because we've had such an overextended bullish move here to the upside. In fact, for a lot of the yen pairs we have, as you can see, bullish candle after bullish candle, no real structure formed. So it's telling me that if we indeed hold 104,500, we most likely will retrace and probably come back into the support down here potentially. But for next week, we should look at 101 there. Of course, if I'm wrong, we'll break through this high and we'll come back to highs. In that case, break and retest above that will make the most sense. Back to highs, break and retest 104,500. And your targets at these highs here on the left. So either which way we can take advantage of both opportunities. So yeah, CAD JPY shorts from 105 to 101 for next week. Okay, so pound dollar up next. So as you can see, nice move to the downside, smashing through a target which were these lows and pushing a lot further. Now pound USD actually tapped into 1.2 there. So very big psychological level for pound USD. Reason being, 1.2 is basically this level of support here on the monthly time frame. So if we hold this, we could see a big reversal potentially. Again, it's a bit more kind of the next few weeks thinking, because the market is still bearish, and for next week I'm still having a bearish bias depending on one or two things, which we'll talk about in a second. But we are trading at a critical level of support, because this is the all-time low support for pound USD, as you can see, and that there is our all-time lows coming into 1.14, I believe. So if we break through this, it could be really, really bad for pound USD. So it's not just any level we're trading at, so just keep that in mind when you're looking to trade pound USD, because if you do have the reversal, could look to go and revisit 1.3, but again, a bit more in the future. But for next week anyway, this is my main area of focus, this level here, because for me, pound USD is going to do one or two things. It's going to break back beneath this level here and just continue with the bearish momentum from the higher time frames and come back into the lows here at 1.19, 300. Or if we can hold this, use that as support to come back and retest this area here, which was the level I was looking for the retest for pound this week, but we didn't quite get that to place some shorts in. So if we start holding this for another higher low, then we're looking for the buys to the upside there, back into, what is that, 1.245, so that'll be the target. If we creep back underneath, that'll be great as well, looking for shorts and just maintain that bearish momentum to the downside like we were doing this week. And targets for this one back down at 1.19350. So that's the plan there for pound USD. Main area of focus is that price swing low then left at 1.21848. We'll see what price does that. Hold, buys back to the upside, retest 1.245. If not, break underneath, looking for the retest, and shorts back down to lows. Okay, now on to pound CAD. So pound CAD still bearish for this one, for this week as well, and for last week. Did see some nice downside, came into around about 1.55. Big push to the upside, still treating it as correction. The way the market's moving, it is still bearish. As you can see, the low lows and low highs are still prominent. And my monthly support, my monthly target came so close to being tested, and it hasn't quite hit that yet. So again, price doesn't actually have to come and hit that to the pip necessarily, because it's come very, very close. It could have reacted to that and see some more upside, but I do have a plan in place if that is the case. For next week, I'm still expecting us to go to the downside and really go and test that support. But if we are sort of retested and we're looking for the reversal, then there's one thing I need to see what happened, which is a break out of this kind of structure, which is similar to NZD CAD, which is funny because they're both CAD pairs. So you could got the low, got the high there, the lower low, lower high, lower low. So if we can break through the structure, it would tell me that okay, price may be looking to reverse this big bearish trend for the past few weeks here, and then we'll look for high lows to continue higher, preferably speaking a break and retest of that of this resistance here. But as of right now, price is still trading underneath, and similar to NZD CAD, I'm looking for that next low high somewhere for price to come right back down. Got this level of, or this area I should call it, of consolidation, which price has been struggling to break above, and I'm looking for, oh, that's the wrong one, that price has been struggling to break above, and I'm looking for price to come respect that / respect the trend line. So nice area of confluence lining up there, and I'm looking for a push back down to lows. First target, or could just be like the general target for the trade, is this level of support there. So that's what I'll be looking at, 1.58. If we can break through, then we could come back down to those monthly lows and maybe have an actual test of the support, but only if we do break, because if not, like I said, we could go in reverse potentially. But pound CAD next week, still looking for shorts as long as we stay below this zone here, and targets back down at 158, which is that support level there, as you can see, where prices respect to that twice. So that is what I'm looking at for next week for pound CAD. Push back into 1.60600 if we hold, shorts back down to 1.58. Okay, so now on to pound JPY. So pound JPY, interesting price action this week. Again, for this one, I was looking mainly. Okay, so next up we've got pound JPY. So for this one, a little bit all over the place this week. Some strong downside momentum followed by some strong upside momentum here. Okay, so, and now I'm going to move on to pound yen. So for this one was a little bit all over the place, couldn't really work out which way I wanted to go this week. Coming into the week, I was looking for some upside off 164, which is this level here. So I was looking to see if the market can bounce from this and come back to highs. Let me just make that a little bit darker. Come back to highs at 168,500, 340 there. But you can see we just blew straight through that level, slight retest, came back down, consolidated a little bit, big wick to the downside. Now climbing back above that level. So this could just be a bit of a massive fake out. And now we could potentially go and move to the upside back to those highs if we hold that level. If not, then this could be the first lower high in respect to those highs up there, equal highs I should say, and then we could actually roll over to the downside back to go and fill that wick. And I do have a key level of support which I was actually looking at pound yen getting to, since we did break through that level this week, which is here at 159,783. Again, very close to that level, but just pulled up just before testing level. So potentially this week we could roll over and go and hit that level, but again, major wicks to the downside. So you know, if that is going to be the next high low, we should respect this level here and look to get some longs if we get some nice signals. So that will be the plan for next week. Buys back to the highs up there at 168,340. If that is the lower high, then we should creep back below this level, use it as resistance. Possibly, obviously doesn't have to, but that'd be great because we can play some trades off the back of that, and then shorts to go and fill that wick to the downside there and hit that key level of 159,750. So essentially that's the plan, focusing on this 164 level here, hold as support, looking for that next higher low, push back to highs at 168,340. If not, we climb back underneath, we'll look for the retest there for sales back down to 159,500 or 750. And next up we've got gold. So gold, as you can see, big move to the downside followed by a big move up. So gold's been a little bit all over the place, to be honest. It's been consolidating in this kind of range here, but then again, if I can extend it a little bit further, kind of include this down move, it's kind of a bigger consolidation we got going here for gold. And I believe this consolidation is very important, because either which way we break out, I think we'll give the next major swing move for gold. Because looking at the higher time frames, specifically the weekly, you can see we've got the highs up here at what I was about to say 2075 up there, and we came so close to take up those highs, back at the highs of the war between Russia and Ukraine. So close to take up those highs, failed just before and rolled back over. And not too long ago we formed these lows, and again so close to taking out that wick there, failed to do so and reverse. So either which way, there's a lot of liquidity above these highs and above these lows. So either which way, one of those highs or basically that high or that low is going to get taken out. And from my judgment, from my analysis, that the breakout of this consolidation, as long as it's not false of course, will probably be the kind of like the decision maker of which low or which high we go and take out. If we break to the upside, then for me this is probably going to be the next higher low, and for us we're probably going to continue this bullish trend to the upside. If not, and we break to the downside at the lows, then most likely gold will come out, or at least come and test the support. We may not specifically take out the wicks, I would expect us to, but at least come and test the support or test the resistance. So this for me is a very important level of consolidation, and also we're still trading above this key resistance here now as support, which we're throwing some wicks into. So for next week, I'm actually expecting us, if I get rid of that big box, I'm actually expecting us to move back into the highs of the range up here for next week, which is 1870 off the back of last week. Big failure to head to the downside there. So if we can remain above this, which is 1835, we'll monitor price action early on Monday, Tuesday to see what type of price action we can get at this level of support. But for me, buys back into the highs of the range there at 1870. And then from there, I'll fold my arms and see what happens next for gold, because again, like I said, we're in that range. Strong move to the downside, coming back into the highs now, potentially could be some nice sales, take advantage of the range. But in terms of direction for gold, the next swing, not yet made my mind up, and like I said, I want to see that breakout of the consolidation, and then I'll work off that. But for next week, more of like an intra-week trade here, back from 1834 back up to 1868. So buys from here into that, and that's pretty much what I'll be looking at next week for gold. break back underneath this level here, then it gets really messy, and we're just coming back into loads of the support. And personally, I wouldn't touch it, but again, you can probably snap a quick buy from the level there, maybe day trading that. But for gold, this is what I'm eyeing up for next week: 1834 into 1868 for next week. Okay, so last but definitely not least is Bitcoin, which is still plummeting here. And I didn't realize actually the last time I was looking, well, I realized this is plummeting, but the last time I looked at Bitcoin, price actually was moving sideways, and now we've broken to the downside, and we've actually smashed through 19k, which was the target we've had for Bitcoin for a couple of weeks now. And yeah, we're trading at 18,154. So Bitcoin is really falling. And that 19k level I just spoke about was this price win high at the end of 2017, the prior bullish cycle. We've had that retracement, and then the next bullish cycle went. So we're looking for the retest of that level there, which you can see prices doing now / breaking underneath. Next target for Bitcoin is this 12k barrier of resistance here. So you can see it's where price respected it once, second time for those wicks, third time briefly, consolidated it and broke to the upside. And the key thing about this level is that ever since price is staying below this level, price was always very corrective, maybe disregarding that kind of explosion there, but price has always been very corrective. And you can see we built up, and this is where the momentum came from, and this is really where that bullish cycle came to life, from this 12k level. And that's probably where price will be attracted to next, to come and retest this level, and maybe see some upside briefly. We'll have to judge, before we call the next bullish cycle, of course. It's not just about the levels, it's about the price action as well, and the structure of the market. But this is the key level where we could be drawn to come and retest. And obviously here, when we broke through, we never got the retest anyway. So 12k is most likely where we will be headed to next. We could go further, but we'll take it step by step for Bitcoin. 12k is still quite far away. We're trading at 18k now, so it's a big decline to come to 12k anyway. But that is probably where Bitcoin will be traded to next. So to trade this one, simply I'd probably wait for this weekly candle to close, which is in about a day and 5 hours from recording. I don't know at the time of you watching the video, of course, but this level here is critical, because if we can break and close underneath this level, we'll see what type of price action we can get underneath. If we can hold as resistance, that could be some nice sells to snap into this move and take advantage of that. Again, you don't have to look for the whole swing to the 12k. Most likely you probably want price to drop first, retrace, and then take advantage of the 12k move. If we just get a quick break and retest, price probably will just drop maybe to 17 or 16k before we do see a pullback. But any which way, as long as we can hold underneath 19k, looking for shorts, and yeah, 12k is for me the next destination. If we break back above 19k, then we'll look to see what we do at this level here. And personally, as long as we stay below that, I think the 12k is still inbound anyway. So even if we do climb back above the 19k mark, still look for sells as long as we can hold 23k. And yeah, shorts for this one still down to 12. So yeah, still not looking good for Bitcoin. We're definitely, of course, in that bearish cycle. So personally, not really entertaining any long ideas. If there probably are on the lower time frames, of course, there always will be. But in terms of any swing or investing, purposes, I would definitely be holding back for now. But of course, when we get to some low prices, that could be getting more and more enticing, but not now, of course. So yeah, Bitcoin still looking at more downside for this one. Targets at, just clear this up, targets back at 12k for not next week, but just generally speaking, next target is 12k for Bitcoin.
Okay guys, that is the end of the video, unfortunately, but I hope you have enjoyed the video and found it useful. Again, let me know in the comments what you guys think is going to happen next week, or if you have any questions about my analysis, drop in the comments and I will get back to you. If you are enjoying the content, finding it useful, subscribe, drop a like, share, hit the bell, keep in the loop, and also it does help out the channel, so please go and smash that like button. But I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. We'll catch you all next week and have a good weekend.